Get it, hurry up. Don't let him do you like that. Yeah, get up there, get over there on him. Ooh, you gonna let your daddy do you like that? Get over there, get on him. Get on him. Get on him. Push him, ooh. Ooh. You ain't gonna help your brother? Get up and help your brother. Ooh.
Welcome to Daddy's Podcast. A special day. I can't even believe this day has come. I can't even believe that this was about to happen. I usually have like questions ready or things like that, you know, to engage the conversation. But today, bro, I'm just straight freestyling, man. You know what I'm saying?
Let's do it.
Thanks, man, for doing this, man.
Man, it's an honor.
Yes, sir. I never thought that I'd be back here in this gym. Coming to this gym, man, 2010, 2009, 8, 7.
Yes, indeed.
It was such a supportive place for me as far as the teachers, you as a coach, Greg's classmates. It was a lot, man, and I want to thank you for inviting me back into this gym, bro.
Oh, man, the pleasure is all mine, brother. The pleasure is all mine.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Most
sir.
definitely.
Yeah, man. I called and I remember you came to the funeral.
Yep.
And you specified a few things, and
Yes.
I woke up one morning and I called you. And I said, Coach Robeson, what you think? And you said, man, I've been waiting to talk to you, man. So I'm going to go ahead and let you talk, man. Go ahead, bro.
Man, it's I don't know where to start, but seeing you guys again, it brings back so many great memories. Like I said again, it's an honor to do this. Greg was more than a special player to me. He was like a son, the best basketball player I've ever seen come through these doors. So it's a complete honor. It goes without saying that this is long overdue, and it's something that needs to be done for him, man.
Man, thank you for that, man. Thank you for that. Us young brothers coming through the street, man, and we need to come together and just be with each other more. You know what I'm saying?
Most definitely.
Could we start off, man, with just talking about like how did we come together, man? Do you remember Greg coming through these doors? Do you remember meeting his mom, man? Like, what was that initial thing when we came through the door and you saw him hoop, man? Like, how did that start, bro?
Again, this is probably a story that most people won't believe, but it's 100% factual.
All right.
Coming in, I was a rookie coach coming into Carnegie. I assisted in some leagues and things, but this was my first head coaching job, and I had basketball tryouts the first day and had some talent come in. And the second day, Greg, for whatever reason, missed the first day. The second day, he walked through the doors, walked up to me. He said, "Hey, Coach, I'm Greg Jackson. I'm your starting point guard." And I said, "Well, kid, everybody get their fair shot." I went through the proper correspondence coaches supposed to have with kids. Everybody get their fair shot, and we'll see what happens. And he said, "No, I'm gonna average 20 points a game too."
No, he didn't. Man.
Yeah.
Get out of here, bro. Get out of here.
I said, "Man, listen, kid, averaging 20 points a game is tough." And this is the first impression he made on me. He said, "No, it's easy. I just got to hit 3 shots every quarter, and that's 24 points."
No, I used to tell him that. No, I used to tell him that for real. I said, man, all you got to do is hit 3 shots a quarter, man, and you'll be getting 20-some points a game. And I remember him looking at me. I never knew he went to go tell you that, though. I used to tell him about, just hit three shots a game. That's what 3 shots a quarter. I used to tell him
sure
that.
enough, man. And I said, okay. In my first thought, I said, oh, man, this kid kind of arrogant, man. Let me see what he got. I put him on the court. We went through the layup line first. I said, oh, okay.
This is the first practice?
First trial.
First trial. Oh, this trial. So it's not even practice.
Not even practice.
Oh, okay.
Take him through the layup drills. You got a right hand and left hand. And we stop and do jumpers. You got to pull up. I said, okay, this kid is pretty good. At the time, one of his good friends and teammates, Martise Hall.
Martise, shout out Martise, definitely.
Definitely shout out to him. He was the most athletic kid.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
played football, baseball. So
that was Greg Buddy, too.
Yeah,
Martise, that was Greg Buddy at Carnegie Hills. Yes, sir.
And then we had some sixth graders who played the year before. So I was kind of stacking it up, and I can't remember a lot of the practices. I know Greg was standing out, but that first game really stood out, and it solidified who Greg was, because we were playing Fisk, and I felt the pressures of coaching my first game at the elementary level, and we were down by like 12 points going into the fourth quarter, and I'm rallying the troops. Nobody was playing exceptionally well. I was running the offense through the team, and Greg, I was sitting on the bench, and Greg said, "Coach, let me take the ball." I said, "All right, man, I'm going to give you a few possessions. Let me see what you got." And that fourth quarter, Greg scored, I think it was 16 points, ended up pushing us into overtime, and then we ended up winning the game by 7. And Greg finished with 38 points.
Dang.
And I said,
so this is
first game.
First game. This is fifth grade? Fifth grade team, right?
Fifth
right.
grade.
That's when fifth grade. Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, damn, this kid is special." And I talked to Coach Flowers, and he said, "Man, whoever that little boy is, keep him close to you." And from that day on, I met you after the game. I met Mom. I met Grandma. And I said, "Hey, I think I could build around him." And I remember you like, "Coach, you got to keep them grades right. I need you to stay on them."
Yeah, yeah.
Grandma was like, "Those grades got to be right." She let me know. She was at Simeon for sure. So I sat down with Greg, talked with him, and I started building around Greg, man. And man, that kid took me and coaching in this school. I have to stop right now and say this. Carnegie was an unknown, small little school on the southeast side of Chicago. By the time that playoff started, his fifth grade year, Carnegie was like the Rolling Stones of Chicago. Everybody was coming to see these kids who were from this school they never heard of, and this little number 23, because he was adamant about he's wearing 23. He didn't care. Yeah. We had a kid in sixth grade who was the leader of the team who said he was wearing 23. And Greg told me, he said, 23 is a guard number. So I said, well, he had the number. And Greg said, I'll play him for it.
Get out of here, man.
No joke.
Get out of here.
No joke.
I never heard this.
No joke. No joke. And the kid was arrogant. He said, okay, I'll play him. Man, no fifth grader beating me. And I was hyping it up. Man, don't let no little kid take your jersey, man. And Greg beat him. I think they were going to 24. He beat him like 24-6.
Wow.
Something like that.
Wow.
I said, sure, this is your number.
Wow, that's cool. And you know what, man? Greg, to me, had that humble confidence.
Oh,
you know what I'm
definitely.
saying? Like, Greg was like kind of smooth and just like laid back to me, you know? And as I got to talking to his friends through this podcast, and shout out to all his friends that came and uplifted his name, I really appreciated that because I learned so much more about Greg. And, you know, he always was like smooth, you know, and laid back. But then when I talk about when he went on the court, it was like he was just a dog, you know, on the court. I'm like, he was just able to code switch like that, you know.
It was still smooth, though. It was still silky smooth. That was Greg all the way through. Greg had the personality. He captured all the teachers in the school. He captured the principals to the point where I could say honestly now, I know Greg probably should have had more C's, but when it came down to
them teachers,
they knew. And it's just what it was.
I wasn't going, man. You couldn't have them
It's
C's,
just what
bro.
it was, because I would go to them and say, hey, listen, what we need to do to make sure Greg keep these B's and A's so that he can get on the court. And Ms. Hegwood definitely, much love and shout out to Ms. Hegwood.
Ms. Hegwood, yes.
She say, Robe, don't worry. That boy playing. I said, okay. And I sent that grade sheet out. That grade sheet come back. And I just look at her. He said, what, Coach? I got my grade's good. I said, all right, man. Don't have no trouble for me, man. But it's just he infected the school where Carnegie was all about the numbers and academics, and they still are. It's a great school. But Greg made them excited about sports.
Okay.
And it got to the point talent started wanting to come here with Greg. And it's just, man, it's a special kid. It get tough for me from time to time, man, because I said Greg not only started my coaching career off, he gave me a name. He gave me the notoriety because, honestly, people wanted to know who was coaching that talented kid that afforded me the opportunities to go to high school and assist at college and all of that, man. It all started from I had that kid.
Yeah.
That one right there, man.
That's cool.
He is the one.
That's
man.
cool. I'm so happy he came to Carnegie, man. I remember Nicole and I was discussing what elementary school he was going to go to because, we wanted him to be in a good school.
Yeah.
He had went to a preschool. It was more like a pro-black preschool to a lady next door. I forget the lady name next door. But then Nani had said, I don't know, it was really Nani. They got him here at Carnegie. And she was like, I got a school, selected Roman school. And it was Carnegie again. I came through the door and it was just, we was just locked in ever since, man. And I really appreciated the teachers that was here, you all, the coaches, so on and so forth, man. And talking about that, I just want to lead into something real quick before we really get into Greg. With using Greg's platform, because of things that I went through, and I talked to other fathers, who have walked down the same road as me. I'd like to just kind of talk about, fathers and fatherhood,
definitely.
give flowers out to fathers. So are there any fathers out here that really helped mold you into the great man that you are? And if so, could you, just talk about some of those good things that, fathers can use in their homes that really helped you, bro?
Most definitely. I think back to my father. My father was a father similar to you, man. He was deaf on the books. I mean, my father probably was a tyrant when it came to it.
Okay.
I mean, because he literally was like, you nothing without the books. 'Cause I was an extremely athletic kid, and I was locked in on I'm playing pro sports, what I need school for, and he was like, no, you getting those grades.
Yeah.
And not knowing that for young men especially, the father is so integral because, and we'll talk about it later, leading into the business that Greg's passing inspired me to start.
Okay.
But mothers are nurturers, and they love their sons. It goes without saying with my wife, and I know Nicole as well. Greg was her everything. That was her boy, and I love that about mothers. Fathers, we don't always get the love we supposed to get because we have to be that tough love. We have to show these young men how to be men in the streets, so it's not always the popular choice or the popular decision that we have to make. Yeah. We got to put our foot down, and I thank God that early on in life I recognized it and understood and appreciated. I had my elementary coach, Coach Carter. He was that for me. I mean, walking to class, and back in those days, you acting up, you go in the hallway, you get the paddle.
Yep, still got the paddle. So I had a Coach Johnson gave me the paddle at Julian.
Yeah, so he would come and get me and warm me up. Guidance counselors, and I got to high school, Hyde Park, which is where Greg played as well. I had Coach Marty Murray was the first one. He was a Phillips standout. He had carried a little baseball bat he got from White Sox Park, and it's the same thing, but they instilled it in me that if you don't follow through what you're supposed to as a young man, there's consequences behind it. And so it helped mold me and develop me. And then coming from the south side of Chicago, slipping into the streets, just doing what your friends did and being intrigued by it. I always had it in my mind that I shouldn't do it, but those values and those lessons stayed with me. And so it kept me from making those severe decisions that affect my life then on. So when I got the opportunity to start coaching these young men, and again, thank God that Greg had a father like you, but most of these young boys didn't. So I was that father figure. And I learned early on that you're not just a coach.
Yeah.
You got to sit down, you got to talk to these guys, you talk to them about life, you talk to them about struggles, they vent about their mothers, their sisters, girlfriends, whatever the case may be. You got to be that listener and you got to steer them in the right direction. So it really, the fatherhood and being a father, it really helped mold me and gave me my purpose in life, man.
Yeah, thank you for that. You know
Most
what?
definitely.
Yeah, I was talking to a father yesterday, man, and we was sitting back and we was vibing. Yeah. And he was also sharing with me, like, decisions that he made, he'd get backlashes from.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt that, too. It's like, I don't want to lose my son, I don't want to be, like, too mean where he stopped talking to me and, because Greg and I actually, we fell out for about 1.5 years because we was going different directions, And that really hurt, And I was like, damn, am I doing the wrong things, But everything I was doing, I thought I was doing the right thing, for lack of a better word, Yeah. So, we finally made our way back to each other, but, it's just that fine line with, trying to listen, because you got to listen to your kids a lot. You just can't be like a dictator and say, son, this is what you're going to do, this is how you're going to do it, and this is when you're going to do it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, you got to sit back and kind of listen to, and it's a fine line with, it's hard to be a parent.
Most definitely.
It's because, humans, all humans are different, so you just... you just got to find that fine line. But, man, I want to thank you, for sharing that. Because, we definitely need fathers. They are very important, to the structure of the home.
Yes.
Definitely.
And I'll say this to you, man. It's, in my studies and travel, I learned that we, as parents, I'll say not just fathers, as parents, we learning on the job.
Yeah.
Because even though we have our parents, as each generation turns, the world turns, and it's different. We can't. Our parents couldn't parent us like their parents parented them, and we can't parent our children like our parents parented us because the world is so different. Yeah. It's more open now. So, similar to Greg, I shied away from my father for years, and as you learn and grow and mature, and as Greg became a father, he started to understand. Yeah. And I know that brought you guys back. Yeah. Because now he's wearing the shoes that you once wore. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
man.
I appreciate that.
I was so happy he moved back with me, man. I stayed like in an apartment, so he had the first floor. Okay. And I had the second floor. And so, he'll call me down, it'd be 10 o'clock at night, and we'll start talking about Amari and Messiah, man. And I'll be like, I just went through the same thing with you, and now you up here saying it back. So, I saw that he was starting to understand, and he was growing, and he was maturing.
Yes.
And, it just made me so proud to hear the words that was coming out of his mouth, that he cared for his kids, and he wanted the best for his kids, And to see that all taken away from me in a blink of an eye, watching him grow and mature, and being excited, like, man, maybe about, I don't know, maybe about a month or two before he passed, he started painting his kids' room. He went and bought them bunk beds. He went and bought TV, hung the TV on the wall. And I'm like, man, look at Greg, so I was happy. So I'm like, so when you gonna finish painting the room? He was like, I think I'm gonna do it about maybe 12 o'clock at night. I'm like, okay, well, that's the best time, because sometimes when you paint, you get to like meditate and you get to thinking, you know what I'm saying? And I woke up in the morning, first thing I did, I was walking downstairs to go check out his room. And he had the whole room painted, bro. He had the whole room painted. I was so proud of him, man. You know what I'm saying? And I was just looking forward to what this was gonna turn into, you know what I'm saying? So, man, thank you on that, man, that fatherhood part.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know I get lost in thought thinking about it sometimes, man, because Greg and I shared a lot of moments, man, and I come to grips with knowing that I will forever mourn the loss of Greg, because it got to the point, I'll say, at the end of the 6th grade year going into 7th grade year, I gained you guys' trust. And Greg and I's bond grew so strong that I know the other kids didn't recognize it or see it, but it felt like to them favoritism, because after practice, they would go home and Greg and I would stay in here and we would just work. And it would be Greg, me, and my son. My son was 3 years old at the time. And Greg was like an idol to him because he was watching basketball, but it was just the bond, and I felt that bond with him. And I would bring Greg home. Greg, you hungry? Or my mom cooked, my grandma cooked. Or yeah, we'd go to McDonald's and we just talk. And man, that relationship just grew and it blossomed. So it still get tough for me, man. I was thinking about him last night, and man, I feel the pride that you feel, because when I would talk to Greg even after high school, and I talk to him and see what he was doing, and I remember when he started working with you, I could see
the transportation.
Yes. He was so proud of it, and I just told him, I said, Greg, keep in contact, because we had lost contact for a couple years. And when we reunited, man, we stood in this building, in that hall, and we hugged for about 5 minutes, man. I just didn't want to let him go, because it was nostalgic for me, man. And he felt the love, and it was the same thing. And we smiled and we talked, and he talked about wanting to get his kids into Carnegie. I said, man, anything I can do for you, brother, I'm gonna do it for you. Man, I share that same pride with you, man. And hearing these stories of him painting that room, man, it does me good as well, man.
I don't think I'm at that paint job ain't that good, bro. But I think I'm gonna just leave that room, just like that, because it reminds me, of him, man. Definitely. Yeah. So when you say like you was thinking about him and all that, and the pride that you have, can I take you back to January 28th, which was the day he was shot? Like, how did you find out about that? And how did you feel?
Oh, man. So I was actually on my way home from work. I did a double. I was working overnight, doing a favor for my boss at Clorox. I was coming from Wheeling, and I did a double. So it probably was about, it was sometime in the afternoon. I can't remember the exact time. But I got a call from Steve Flowers, and he said, man, I think Greg got shot. And I said, and he said, it's all over the news. And I said, my Greg? He said, yeah. He said, so look into it. I said, all right, when I get home. And my phone just started going off. Text message. And that's when I started getting that sinking feeling in my stomach. And I remember my daughter texted me, and she said, they killed Greg. And she sent me, I don't know if it was Spot News or whatever it was, but I saw the article and I read it. And I was just hoping it wasn't the right year or it was another Greg Jackson or whatever. When I saw the confirmation, man, I remember I pulled over right on the shoulder of the road on 290, right by Independence. Man, and I sat there and I cried. I don't know how long it was. It was some hours to the point that state troopers pulled behind me. And
you sat on the road for hours?
Yeah. I was broken, man. I felt life leave out of me, man, because that was my guy.
I felt that same thing, man. It was like the life, and I still feel that way.
Yeah. Excuse me, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I was coaching at High Park at the time, and we had playoffs coming up, and I relinquished my head coaching spots to the assistant coaches, and I didn't have the passion or drive no more. I didn't. And my teams, I had some promising teams, man, and they didn't perform well, and I knew it was because I wasn't in it all the way. And I talked to my kids that were there with me from Carnegie, and I told them, because everybody who came from Carnegie, they understood who Greg was and what he was to me. And after that season, I knew that I was done. And I talked to you about it, and you implored me not to, but I just felt like my coaching started with Greg, and it had to end. That was the only way that I saw fit, was that it ended with him, that if Greg was gone, that was it for me. So that was the last time I coached, and I knew that going out of that, I had the inspiration because I talked to you at the funeral, and I told you what my thoughts was, and Coach Angie from Jabari Parker, and you said, Coach, Greg wouldn't want that. And I said, but I can't give it no more. I can't, because I knew that if I connected with another kid like I connected with Greg and I lost him, it would be no more for me. So I got the inspiration to stay in the kids' lives, and I went and started my company, Building Better People, which is a mentorship program through fitness. So I will teach guys about fitness, basketball shape, football shape, whatever shape it is, but I mentor, do mental health assessments, and I do guidance. I sit down and I talk with these student athletes, and Greg is always the topic of my conversation with them, because he was the elite of the elite student athletes. Greg had looks to the University of Illinois coming out of 8th grade, and hopefully we could talk about that special time. But I knew that was my purpose, to continue to stay in the lives of these kids, but it could not be through basketball anymore, because I don't have it in me anymore to coach, because it hurt too bad for me, man. Yeah.
You know what, man? That we reciprocated each other's thoughts. And because I really don't remember telling you to keep going, but I know things that I would say. And I know I wouldn't want you to stop coaching after that. But what happened with me is, as you just mentioned, Greg was working with my transportation company, right? And actually, I was about to close it down. And Greg was like, no, Daddy, I'll help you. I'm like, what? You gonna help me? I was all excited, like, oh, okay, cool. So, I kept it going. And after he passed, I tried to keep it going, but it just wasn't the same without my backbone. Knowing that if I need some help, Greg would be Johnny on the spot. I got you. And it was like, I guess I should have talked to you, because after, a few months after he passed, I let it go, because, it just wasn't the same. And that's probably not what Greg would have wanted me to do. I just figured I'd find something else to do, because it reminded me, too much of him. When I'm trying to find somebody to go get somebody, I always knew I could just pick up the phone and he'd be like, okay. So, yeah, I definitely feel you on that, because it was just kind of like you said, a part of me had died. Like, I don't want to, lose my life, but it's just kind of like a little bit. I don't know what happened to me. It's just like a little of that desire. I don't even know how to say what I want to say.
It's without words, but you lose it. It's a piece of you that is just, you feel it, that is missing. Which leads, I want to segue into something I know we talked about it, and one of the things of the podcast was us here at Carnegie retiring Greg's number. And We got his jerseys framed, and we'll present them. But speaking with some of the coaches and administration, because us as coaches who came through here, we took consensus and we took votes because we talk about Greg all the time. And a topic of conversation always is, who was the best player to come through Andrew Carnegie?
Okay.
And almost unanimously, it's Greg Jackson. So we decided, and this is the first time you're hearing this, we decided to unretire Greg's number because we concluded that it was not a service to him. But just like in our era, every number one player that comes through Carnegie is mandatorily wearing 23 from now on.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, most
Thank you,
definitely,
man.
brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. Oh, that means so much. When I started the podcast, man, I never knew it would like lead to this. You know, it was just I got tired of. I don't know. I was just in trauma. You know, I was just hurt. You know, I didn't know who to talk to. I felt like I was wearing my old lady out, wearing my friends out. Like, don't nobody want to hear this all the time. You know.
Yeah.
And I don't even do stuff like this, man. You know, and for it to end with you telling me the legacy of Greg is his number is gonna be worn by the best player on the team, man. I had no idea to lead to this, man. So thank you so much for that, bro. That's something that I don't know what it's just saved me, man. It just solidifies Greg is like living.
Yeah.
You know,
He's gonna live on.
He's living.
He's gonna live on here.
And it's not much more I can ask for if he's not here. You know what I'm saying, man? Thank you so much for that, man.
Definitely, man.
Definitely, man. So you want to let me?
Yeah. I mean, so. We have
Hold on, man. I need some people to come up here for this. Nikki, where's his mom at? Nikki, Nani, Amari, Messiah. Come here. This is little one right here, man. This is little one right here. Hey, man, Amari, have a seat right here, man.
Why?
Because I want you to. Put on these.
I'm sweaty.
Okay, put on that. You gonna come with me, man?
Definitely, please hold it up. I remember that jacket as well.
Nikki, put that on.
So we do this one first.
So, Coach,
Yes.
in front of Greg's family, Christopher, come up here. In front of Greg's family, his brothers, his teammates. Eliana, come up here. Is Donata what? No way.
Right there.
Just say, tell her to come here.
Okay. All right, cool. I'm gonna let them. Aria, come here. Come on. Let's leave Eliana there.
So I'll say this. Unanimously and honorably, we want to present you guys with Greg's framed jersey from Andrew Carnegie. And not knowing, I talk about this a lot in my company, is that you never know where God will put you and what he's putting you in place for. I always thought coaching at High Park was for me because I went to high school there, I played there, so me coaching there was the purpose. But the purpose was God knew that this moment would come and that with me being in the school coaching, I was able to talk to the athletic director and got him to give me Greg's 23 from Hyde Park as well. Wow. So he brought us full circle. So I have his 23 from Hyde Park as well, frame.
Coach Robeson, on behalf of my family, especially Nikki over there, his kids, Nani, Chris, all of us, I want to thank you. I want to thank the administration at Carnegie for doing this for my family. I want to thank CPS. I think Nikki said it so perfectly on one of our podcasts. She said, you know, Greg was not perfect, but Greg was good. Greg was great. He never, ever hurt anybody.